I poured everything into her birthday party. It was my idea from the start. Every detail, every dollar, every late night spent planning. I wanted it to be perfect for Emily, my wife of 4 years, the woman I'd built my life around. The venue was a stunning rooftop in downtown Chicago with a skyline view that took your breath away. I ordered a 5-tier cake, chocolate and vanilla swirled, her favorite. A champagne tower sparkled under twinkling lights I'd paid extra to have strung up. I even had orchids flown in from halfway across the world because she'd once called them her dream bouquet. It cost a fortune, but I didn't care. This was her night, and I wanted her to feel like the center of the universe. I stood there in my best suit, watching her laugh with our 60 guests, friends, family, people we'd known forever. I was exhausted, but proud. She looked radiant in the dress we'd picked out together months ago, her hair catching the light just right. I thought, this is what marriage is about, making her happy. Then she grabbed the microphone. I expected a sweet thank you, maybe a nod to me for pulling it all together. Instead, she raised her glass and started talking about Daniel Carter. My guiding light, she said, her voice clear over the crowd's hum, the one who's been there through my toughest times. I froze, my smile stuck like it didn't know what to do. Daniel, the guy she worked with, mentioned casually a few times. My chest tightened, but I told myself to wait. She'd get to me next. She didn't. Instead, she turned to me with a smirk, handed me a small gift bag, and said, "For you, honey." The crowd chuckled, thinking it was cute. I opened it, expecting a watch or a tie, but inside was a black designer t-shirt. I held it up, and in bold white letters, it read, "Divorced." The crowd went silent, then a few nervous laughs broke through. She grinned like it was hilarious. My hands shook as I stared at the word. 4 years of marriage, all the sacrifices, all the nights planning things like this, and she thought this was funny. My throat burned. Every eye was on me, waiting for my reaction. I could have yelled, thrown the shirt in her face, but I didn't. I set the bag down, reached into my pocket, and pulled out the Cartier bracelet I'd bought her. Gold, sleek, expensive, something I'd saved for because I knew she'd love it. I placed it on the table next to the cake where everyone could see and walked out. The cold night air hit my face, but I kept going, my shoes clicking against the pavement, my heart pounding like it might break my ribs. I didn't know where I was headed, but I wasn't going back. Not for her, not for anyone. 10 steps out, I stopped, fists clenched. That t-shirt wasn't a joke. It was a declaration. I couldn't let her have the last word. I turned back, marched through the glass doors, past the stunned valet, and into the party's noise. Laughter, clinking glasses, her playlist humming. I didn't look at anyone, just strode to the table, grabbed the bracelet, and shoved it in my pocket. Emily was up front, chatting with Daniel. Her back to me, probably thinking I'd slink off. No one stopped me. I walked out again, this time for good. In my car, a black sedan I'd bought 2 years ago, I sat for a minute staring at the dashboard. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. The engine roared to life, and I drove, the city lights blurring past. 5 minutes later, the calls started. Emily's name lit up my phone over and over. By the time I hit the highway, it was relentless. 10 calls, 20, 50. I kept driving. What did she want? To apologize? To laugh more? I didn't care. I pulled into my apartment now, and checked the screen. 157 missed calls, all from her. I turned the phone off and sat in the dark, the engine ticking as it cooled. That t-shirt, her thanking Daniel, it was the end of us. I'd given her everything, and she'd turned me into a punchline. I crashed on my buddy Jake's lumpy couch that night, my suit jacket crumpled on the floor. Jake didn't ask much, just handed me a beer and let me sleep. The next morning, sunlight crept through the blinds, and I lay there, coffee in hand, staring at the ceiling. Jake shuffled in, set a mug down, and said, "You don't come back from that." He was right. It wasn't just the shirt. It was all the years I'd ignored the signs, thinking love meant saying yes to her dreams. I'd moved cities for her job, turned down promotions, skipped vacations to fund her career. She shined, and I let her, but last night she shined for someone else. I stayed at Jake's for 2 days, phone off, those 157 calls untouched. I couldn't hide forever, so I called Sarah Mendez, a lawyer a coworker recommended. Her office was small, stacked with files, no nonsense. "What's your goal?" she asked, pen ready. "I want out," I said. "Clean, quiet, no drama." She nodded, scribbling notes as I told her about the party, the shirt, Daniel. By the end, she had a plan. File quietly, split assets fairly, no public mess. I trusted her. That night, I moved back into the apartment. Emily wasn't there, probably at her sister's. I didn't care. I started changing things, tossed her throw pillows, rearranged the furniture, set up a desk by the window with notebooks and a vision board, places I wanted to go, things I wanted to do. Work became my anchor. I dove into a new client project, a messy startup overhaul. My boss, Greg, noticed. "You're back," he said, tossing me a big account. I took it, no hesitation. Emily's texts started, short ones like, "Where are you?" Then long, rambling ones claiming the shirt was a joke. I didn't reply. Sarah had the divorce papers ready by Friday. I signed them, my hand steady. This wasn't revenge, it was survival. I started running every morning, 5 a.m., the Chicago streets quiet. The first mile was brutal, but I kept going, shedding the weight of her betrayal step by step. My body changed, shoulders broader, legs stronger, but it was more than that. I stopped being the guy who waited for her approval. I invested in a startup with 2 kids, Ethan and Noah. I met at a diner. Their delivery app idea was rough but real. I helped them organize unpaid because it felt good to build something. One night, I found a letter from Emily in old files, 4 pages of apologies, memories, I miss you. She wrote about needing me now that her career was tanking, Daniel gone, her podcast flopping. I read it once, then slid it into a drawer. It was too late, too hollow. She'd needed me as a safety net, not a husband. I kept moving forward. Runs, work, the startup. Greg offered a promotion. I got invites to speak at seminars, even a guest lecture in Dubai. My life was taking off. One rainy night, Emily showed up at my door, soaked, mascara streaking, looking broken. "I miss you," she said. I messed up. I let her in, but her words didn't touch me. "You didn't need me when you handed me that shirt," I said. "You don't get to now." She cried, apologized, but I felt nothing. She left, disappearing into the storm. I called Jake, grabbed my guitar, and played on his rooftop, the city sparkling below. It was peace, quiet, and steady. A year later, I stood backstage in Seattle, about to give a keynote. Rebuilding after betrayal. The crowd roared as I walked out. "I once paid for a birthday party where I got a t-shirt labeled divorced," I started. They laughed, then listened as I told my story. 157 missed calls, walking out, running, writing, rebuilding. My blog, 157 Missed Calls, had become a movement. People read it, connected, shared their own stories. Companies asked me to speak, write, lead. Ethan and Noah's app launched, and I wore a shirt at their party. Rebuilt. It wasn't about her, it was about me, about everyone who'd walked through pain and kept going. That night in my hotel room, I scrolled through comments from the audience. "You changed my life." I thought about the bracelet, still in my drawer next to her letter, untouched. She'd moved away, started over, but I didn't care. My horizon was wide. Speeches, a book, the startup. I'd answered one call that night, the one to myself. It wasn't about revenge. It was about reinvention. I raised a glass to the Seattle skyline, a silent toast to the man I'd become.